So I was going to make a video about Chengdu 3-0ing Shanghai, just focusing on how well they played the playstyle that we talked about in the video last week, but I didn't really have much time, so I did a quick 30-minute stream instead. And I've cut out the intro to the stream since it was just rehashing stuff from that video. Since doing that stream as well, Chengdu just 3-0'd NYXL in exactly the same way, so I'm pretty sure this match wasn't a fluke. I am pretty terrible at streaming, but I might try more in the future. So, and then obviously they're going to restart that cycle, and that's kind of what we talk about a lot whenever we talk about uptime and downtime. This whole cycle that we just talked about here is what that is, right? You're going slow at the start, then you're committing and using a lot of resources, and then you're going back and stabilizing. The best teams are the ones that can do this properly, and this is why we're going to look at a few fights from the Chengdu match, because Chengdu did this really well. I don't think there's anything else about this we want to talk about. Probably not. I might just go straight into the examples. So yeah, to do this well, obviously we need safe, secure setup. It wants to be like, you want this first phase to be fast, but you want it to be secure. You need the ruthless transition into the second phase. And after you've been fighting for a few seconds, after you start running out of those resources, you then look to stabilize. Yeah. And again, teams that do this the best are the ones that are going to do really well this season. So we're literally just going to look at one round of Oasis, because I feel like it kind of shows everything you need to see. Obviously on Oasis Gardens here, we can see the comps right now. Obviously Hunter's playing a Pharaoh comp, which really suits this uptime downtime playstyle quite easy. Dragons playing a little bit slower, but obviously we're still looking for that playstyle. And so obviously right now both teams are in that kind of first phase, which means that what they're looking for is to quickly scout and quickly take positions without taking too many risks, while staying in a secure setup, so that, if the enemy team come in, they can turn around on them, and they can collapse on them. Yep. So if we just watch now, do it just a little bit slower. Actually, no, I'll do it full speed just so you can see. And the thing that Chengdu do really well here is they don't hesitate at all. If you watch particularly, Leave and Monk on Ana, how quickly they just run around, get into the positions. You see, since Monk left spawn, he hasn't really stopped. He's run straight into this staircase on the bottom left. Yeah. So they haven't hesitated. They've gone straight away for their first phase. Same with Leave. He hovered around a little bit in main just to scout. As soon as he'd done that scout and he knew where the backline was, he couldn't see them in main. Yeah, so Leave has just run straight around, Monk's run straight around here. Leave scouts a little bit here and looks over into this area here to see if he can see the Zenyatta, or to see if he can see the supports. Obviously he doesn't, so he immediately goes and sets up. And we'll play this full speed back again in a second, but you can see it's kind of different to what Shanghai do. Because the problem with Shanghai is that right now they're also in that first phase, but they kind of hesitate a little bit, yeah? They hesitate a little bit. I don't know if they were kind of afraid of the Pharaoh, they didn't know what to play into the Pharaoh. Maybe they were waiting for a better scout on the Ana, I'm not too sure. But we'll see that in a sec. So Chengdu have done this really well, because not only have Chengdu gone for it super fast for that first phase, they're also in a very secure position, yeah? Because if Shanghai, somehow were able to look for an engage here, obviously there's not really anyone on the team they can go for. They can try and go for the Pharaoh, they can try and go for the Ana. But whoever they go for, Chengdu are in a position to catch that, If Ball right now comes in, if Tracer uses all her blinks and goes in, Chengdu are in a very good position to absorb that engage, right? So Chengdu done this first phase very well, top marks for that first phase, yeah? Shanghai, on the other hand, haven't really done that, right? Because you can see sports are in a really awkward position here. The sports are ready to fight, they're ready to play. But obviously, again, we're talking about this first phase. In the phase one, you've got to stay safe. You have to be in a position where you can't get caught, right? Obviously, Dragons have kind of accidentally ended up in this position where they can get caught. So they've kind of failed on their first phase. Now, I'm not going to blame this too heavily on the supports, because this is a rollout, right? And obviously on the rollout, that the enemy, the map is empty. The enemy team isn't hiding, because, the enemy team's in spawn. So that's the reason why Hunters were so confident going fast. It's kind of different to usual. You don't need to scout as much. But obviously, dragons should know that if their supports are going this way, that they need to be ready to fight in this area, because their supports are committing if they come through and peek this angle. So I'm not too sure what's going on with the dragons' comms here. I don't really know why they hesitate here. It's not ideal. I'll just play it back here. If you focus on the movement of the dragon's tank line and the dragon's DPS, you can see them hesitating a lot. You can see them not really too sure what to do. You can see Fleder in a minute actually starts, running around and looking for the enemy translocator. They're not really committing on anything here. They're just kind of hovering in main. But obviously, while during this first phase, they're still in this first phase. No one's committing. It's not a great first phase because their supports, because they're Brig, because their Zen and their Zen are in a position to get caught. So in terms of first phase, obviously Chengdu have done very well. Very happy with Chengdu. Very good job. Right up here actually. I'll just put 1. Nice big 1. Okay, so Chengdu did very well. Yeah, very well in the first phase. They set up and they were secure while they were doing it. Now we're looking for this transition into the second phase where we're looking forward and we're trying to dive, we're trying to commit on something. Obviously Chengdu's comp, they don't really need to help Anna go for rotations. They don't really need to do anything but jump on targets and kill them. So that's what they're going to be looking for. Obviously Leave is in a nice position where he can scout the Zen and he can call the Zen. Gaga is in a position where he can push around. Obviously he gets stunned by the Brig here, but that doesn't really matter. Jinmu's close enough to go in and help them too, right? So we can see, play back to the last couple of seconds as well. We can see as soon as this call comes out from Leave, there's no hesitation on the side of Chengdu, yeah? Like that is a ruthless transition if you've ever seen one. It's the entire team, they see a target, they push it, they kill it, they go straight away. Another thing I want to draw your attention to is not just have they had this nice ruthless transition, but they're also kind of ended up in this position where they're stabilizing too. Because they're inside, they're in cover. And even though they don't really need to stabilize because they've kind of just won the fight, if they didn't get these kills here for some reason, and they did need to stabilize, they're in position to do it. So for all 3 of the aspects that we were talking about, with did they set up nicely for phase 1, did they transition it nicely into phase 2, and were they ready to stabilize, they've done all of that really well. Shanghai, on the other hand, obviously didn't do that, because their supports were in a position to get caught during their first phase, and they never even really got further than that, right? It's important as well to mention that if your team is consistently setting up faster than the enemy team in your first phase, it means that you get to control a lot of the tempo, right? If your Sombra is faster setting up on her flank, if your Ball is faster on his rollout, if your Anna isn't hesitating when she's trying to get into a position, then you're always going to be ready to start a fight before the enemy team. So a team that has a nice, clean, and fast first phase is always going to have more opportunities, like we just saw, right? And I'll play the whole thing at full speed actually, just one last time, like right from the rollout. And again, have a look at how fast Monk rolls out the spawn. He doesn't hesitate. Have a look at how fast Leave sets up in his position, right? Have a look at Hunter's setup, and you can't pick any time during the setup where Shanghai would be able to engage on them for free. They're always in a position to catch it. So Hunter's first setup is great, and then look at this transition into the second phase too. As soon as the call comes out for Leave, there's no hesitation. Everyone commits. You get these kills here, and you're also in a very nice position where you can stabilize if this doesn't go this well. Yeah. So really top marks for Chengdu on this first fight. They've done very well here. So quickly looking at the second fight, I believe it's at 8 minutes. Shanghai make a swap onto the Anna. Again, doesn't really matter too much. So again, same things we're looking for. We're looking for that first phase, we're looking for the transition into the second phase, and then we're looking for that potential stabilization. Yeah, we don't really care too much about what comp they're playing. All we are looking for is how well are they doing that playstyle, right? And we can see that they're set up very nicely in this first phase. Leaves over here, he leaves at the top of the screen, he's not going to die. Jim is in a nice safe position. Gaga has the Ball rollouts planned, he knows exactly how far he can get at what time. And again, Monk's in a nice position. There's no one on Chengdu's team that could get caught by an early engage. If Shanghai tried to go in right now onto Monk, everyone on their team is in a position to trade out on that, right? So again, the first phase, very nice from Chengdu. So now dragons start to kind of poke around a little bit, try and make some sort of entry. We'll talk about Izyaki's decision-making process in a minute. I just want to focus on what Chengdu are actually doing. And again, they have kind of a similar situation. Gaga's set up, he's ready to go in, he knows his rollouts. Jinmu's close to the enemy team, but in cover, again, he's safe. Leaves in a nice position where he can scout. And as soon as Izyaki commits, he does in a moment, Izyaki starts coming through main. Timings are matched perfectly. Yeah, the timings for these like 3 dive heroes, the Sombra, the Pharah, and the Ball, they're matched perfectly. But once again, we see that ruthless transition into the second phase. Yeah, they had a nice first phase again. Leave is scouting, Jimmy's in position, Gaga's in position. Then, when the call comes out from Leave, that Izyaki is committed. The transition into that second phase is ruthless. All of those timings get matched. Yeah. And then more importantly, and this is what I really like, is that as soon as they get this kill, think about it. The Ball's gone in. He's used his adaptive shields, and they're about to run out. The Sombra, he showed the whole enemy team where she is. Once they turn around and start shooting her, she's going to have to translocate out soon. Jinmu's just used all of his cooldowns going in. He's starting to run out of fuel. He's got to worry. If he's going to stay here, he's probably going to die. Again, they've caught Shanghai off guard by pushing them. It's only going to take Shanghai half a second to turn around and start focusing these people. So the thing that hunters do really great here is that they then immediately disengage. Ball doesn't stay there to try and clean up the fight. Jinmu doesn't stay there trying to clean up the fight. They've got what they needed to do, right? And now they go back, they heal up, they reset their cooldowns, and they're immediately back in a position where they can do the same thing again. So every single thing, all of those 3 things that we've talked about for this playstyle, from the first phase, setting up while not taking risks, setting up while in a secure position where you could, collapse on an enemy engage if the enemy tried to engage very early. Then they had that great transition into the second phase, and they matched their timings. It was ruthless, they got the kill. And then most importantly, they didn't overstay their welcome. They immediately backed up, they immediately stabilized, reset those cooldowns, and you could say, sure, Jimmy was close to Barrage, they could have stayed there, they could have won. Again, it doesn't really matter, right? Because when you're in these games and you don't have the time to make those decisions because they don't have the same information that we do, having that nice clean rotation of the first phase to the second phase to the stabilize and then repeating it, that's the most important thing. Yeah. And in these first 2 fights, Chengdu have done that really, really, really well. So then looking to this last fight, again, I know this is like a super short stream, but I wanted to make a video about this. I just didn't have time to go through and do all the editing and so on. I just wanted to talk about it a bit here. Now we have this last fight here, and Chengdu are just kind of cleaning up off a previous fight. Unfortunately, fucking Gaga gets slept, hacked, killed. Doesn't matter too much, right? Don't really care about that. Again, what we care about is hunters disengage again. They were in the second phase. They lost Gaga. Now the call comes out to stabilize. So everyone backs up. No one overstays their welcome. And everyone starts that reset up back into that first phase. Because right now, Chengdu are in downtime. They're in downtime because they don't have the resources to start and engage. They're missing Gaga. They're missing their Wrecking Ball. They don't have the mines, right? So the whole of Chengdu are in downtime. And they understand what that means is they're not taking risks. They're stabilizing, they're healing up, they're resetting their cooldowns. They're trying to stay in a position to fight, but they're not committing anything. They're just waiting until they're ready to go back into that second phase. Yeah? And you can tell that Chengdu have good comms structures. You can tell that, their comms at the moment are nice and relaxed, that they've practiced this type of playstyle a lot. Because that Gargoyle's calling the entire time he's coming back from spawn. He's making it very clear to his team exactly how long he's going to be. Because, Jinmu's not over-peeking anything, right? Monk's not peeking and trying to get a funny nade to try and win the fight. No one's taking risks. They have faith that Garga's going to come back. They have faith that they're going to be able to take a fight and transition back into that second phase. Yeah? So here, again, we have a nice first phase from Chengdu, even though they started with a man down. Because no one's taking risks. You can see Monk here, he's hiding behind the corner. No one on the enemy team can see him. He's not taking spam damage at the start of the fight. Jinmu, he's avoiding the McCree LOS, staying safe, he's not taking risks. Same goes for Leave. All he's doing is just chilling in invis and scouting, right? Scouting for the EMP. You know, Elsa's in a nice position where if the enemy team want to push him and kill him, you know, like the Diva at the bottom of the screen, the rest of the team can turn around and kill him. It's a very nice first phase once again, yeah? And the entire time, if we look at Gaga down on the bottom right of the screen, he's calling to the team. He's telling them exactly how long it's going to take him to join the fight. And because that comm is so clear, what it means is, as soon as he gets back, as soon as Dragons start pushing in, despite the fact they started with a man down, they're immediately ready to match their timings again, yeah? So as soon as Gaga's back, Jinmu, Leave, Gaga, all go in at the same time, and even though they start a fight with a man down, even though they're running into a rally Kree, you know, they still have a very nice fight out of it, right? They have, again, that ruthless transition into the second phase, even though they started with a man down, right? And, like, this is kind of how the rest of the series went as well, and, like, this is why I was so impressed with Chengdu, because this isn't, you know, like, funny Wrecking Ball players going around and causing chaos. This is very kind of clean, regimented gameplay, right? Because every single fight, they have that clean transition. They have the nice first phase where no one's taking risks. They have the clean transition into the second phase where everyone's matching their timings. And then more importantly than that, they also have the chance to stabilize. They're ready to stabilize after they get the kills and after they start running out of cooldowns in the second phase. So I'm super, super impressed with Hunters. You know, like they did so well in the series, and I really hope it wasn't a fluke. I really hope they keep going. I might replay that. Which one's the best example? Maybe the second fight. I'll replay the second fight actually. Actually, no, I'll replay this one from the start just so you can see full speed. So again, it's like very impressed with Chengdu. So even though, so here again, it's like they're in the second phase, but they bleed a pick, so the call comes out to stabilize. And then for the next, you know, 15-20 seconds, all they're doing is chilling in downtime. Again, it's all about matching those uptime and downtime cycles. They know because their Wrecking Ball's still dead that they're in downtime, so no one's taking risks. All everyone's doing is relaxing, staying set up, giving Gaga the room in comms to say when he's coming back. And because they give him their room in comms, because they're coordinating their timings, they have a very nice transition into the second phase, even though that they started the fight a man down, right? No, I mean that's basically it. I'm super impressed with how Chengdu played. This whole process that we talked about, you know, you have a clean first phase where you're scouting, you're taking positions, and you're not taking risks. You know, you can see the setup that Shanghai are in before the fights start. You know, no one is in a position to get caught, even when they're a man down. You know, if Shanghai right now tried to punish Jinmu, or tried to punish Monk, or tried to punish Leave, everyone's close enough in line of sight of each other, ready to help each other. Yeah, that's obviously very different to what happened with Dragons when, if we go back to the previous fight, where Izayaki gets dived, no one's ready to help him, and Izayaki just gets blown up, right? So Chengdu are doing this playstyle really, really well. And like, I'm not too sure what Dragons are really going for here. Like, they need to understand that if Leave's they need to understand that if Izayaki's gonna come through, the team needs to be ready to collapse on an engage if Chengdu go for it. Izayaki as well probably shouldn't be doing that pathing. He should probably just be going around the map and playing inside the mega where Lee Jaegon is. But yeah. Again, like the main thing I want to focus on is the things that Chengdu do well, which is having a nice, safe setup in that first phase, and then having these really, really nice, clean, you know, coordinated transitions into the second phase. Yeah. And then again, back to these resets. And they were just cycling this over the whole of the game versus Shanghai. Yeah, I don't really have any more fights to go over just because like kind of everything is explained here. I'll replay the first fight just one more time. Again, just like as you watch it, just think of the stuff we talked about. Think of how fast they roll out in that first phase. Again, the faster your if you can have a nice fast first phase, you're always going to be ready to start a fight before the enemy is ready for it. Yeah. Again, there's no hesitation from Monk on his rotation. There's no hesitation from Leave when he's setting up. You know, Gaga gets in position straight away. I'll just pause it here quickly. Again, pointing out that Hunter's setup in this first phase is secure. No one can engage on Hunters right now. Because if Fate tries to go in or Fleder, you know, triple blinks in, Hunters are in a position to catch that. Yeah. I'm really glad that Elsa is getting showcased in Hunters. He's one of my favorite players. He's great. Yeah, so they have the fast, secure first phase, and then, as always, they have that ruthless transition into the second phase. The scout goes in, the scout comes out, the whole team goes in. They're in a position to stabilize if they need to. You know, you wouldn't want to do this any differently. Yeah. But no, yeah, I don't want to drag this on too much. If you have any questions, chuck them in chat now. Yeah, Dragon's flankers hesitate a lot here. Again, it's like, I don't know if they were waiting because they didn't know what to do against the Pharah, or if they were waiting because they wanted a better scout on Monk. But they needed to understand that if their supports were going to roll out inside, and like, if their supports were going to roll out inside and play in here, the rest of the team needs to be ready to fight in this area for the first rollout. Because obviously it's 0-0. Both teams are going to reach this point at the same time. So if your supports are committing here, the rest of the team's got to be ready to commit here as well. I don't really know why they hesitated. They were hesitating throughout the whole of the series. Helps you understand how your team got dumpstered in playoffs. Shit. Oh yeah, it's serious. It's like this idea of like the phases, like we talked about here. Like, it's been in the game for a very long time, but it's only really it's never mattered as much as it does now, right? Because like, if you watch the video I put up last week, again, like, we've had the balance changes, we've had teams just getting better and learning how to play the game better. That means that you see this playstyle much more obviously, right? It's like, yeah. Smart British man, Poggers. But yeah, no, just recently it's like, yeah, you can see Fleder goes like hunting for the translocator. Again, it's like, there's obviously the hesitation. I don't know if it's because they didn't know what to do against the Pharaoh or because they're waiting for the scout on the Ana. Again, it doesn't really matter what they're doing. The only thing that matters is that they have this structure and they have it clean. They didn't have that in any of the fights, but Chengdu did. Now I'll stop talking in a sec. I'll just play the last fight one last time. Again, think about the stuff we talked about. Again, obviously Gaga feeds in spawn. The call obviously comes out from Hunters to stabilize. I'm really glad they do this clean because it gives me a lot of confidence that they have good comm structures. You know, the team is perfectly ready for when Gaga comes back. The team obviously has a lot of confidence that they're going to be able to get a good fight too, because no one's taking risks. You know, Jinmu's not going for funny peeks. Monk isn't going for funny nades. And because they are listening to each other, because they're ready to match their peaks again, because they're ready to match their uptimes, even though they start the fight with a man down, they still get that, you know, nice engage. They still get that nice transition into the second phase.